Holy Gospel according to Luke. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." He replied to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator?" Then he said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." Then he told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, "What shall I do? For I do not have space to store my harvest." And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods, and I shall say to myself, 'Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?' Thus will it be for all who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God." The Gospel of the Lord.
The scriptures this morning invite all of us to take a close, intimate look at our lives. Because how many times when we discuss all that goes on in each of our days and weeks and years, they're filled with all kinds of events. There's moments of joy, there's problems, there's struggles, there's laughter, tears, and everything else that makes up our life. We feel a sense of joy, success, or maybe even a sense of failure at times. And then we wonder if it's all worth anything as we go through these struggles. But too often, we have to recognize what the invitation of the Lord is all about. That we need to strive to be one with our God each and every day. And so the Lord today invites us and challenges us to look beyond the riches of the world, but rather to grow rich in the sight of God. Because over and over again in the gospel stories and parables of St. Luke, we meet the references to the kingdom of this world with all of its protagonists. Because we hear in St. Luke's various gospels about Satan in the desert, about evil spirits in the bodies of Abraham's descendants. We hear about the scribes, the lawyers, the Pharisees, the rich, the beautiful, the powerful. All of these opposed to building up the kingdom of God, as exemplified in the life and the joy and the struggles of Jesus Christ. But St. Luke's gospel rings out with a cry: "Seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be yours." Luke's community, our parish community, we are called to listen to those words of Christ in the gospel and to put them into effect in our lives. Because we need to identify, prioritize what is most important to us. What are our earthly goals? And as a follower of Christ, what do we do to live them out each and every day? Because if we are truly going to live out the call of God, His will for us here on earth, hopefully it centers first and foremost in Jesus Christ and the example that He lived, the love that He shared, and the call for you and I to love and care for one another. A struggle, a challenge, an invitation that God gives to us. And so how are we to grow rich in the sight of our God? I think the scriptures are pretty clear in that in order to grow rich before God, we need to be, first and foremost, a people of prayer, a people of sacrament, a people of service. Because if we do those things, then the blessings, the riches, the wealth of the earth, the success, and all the rest truly falls into place. But where are our priorities? Where do we spend our time in service to God as we grow rich in His sight? Think about a simple little example. How often does this seem to be something we can identify with? I work 60 hours a week. I work hard for my family, but how much am I with them? So often, that becomes the priority of our lives. We get caught up in it, and we forget that we need to spend time, quality time with one another, in the gift of our faith, our prayer, our families, our friends, because it's in that then that we can truly grow rich before God and one another. And so we're called to build up the kingdom of God. We're called to care for each other, to reach out to each other, to build up those relationships that God has given to each of us. And what does it mean? It may mean sacrifice. It may mean giving up things that we like to do for the good of others. It may be a call to forgiveness and humility. It may be a call to prayer. It may mean a call to love as Jesus Christ has loved all of us. But if we're truly going to grow rich in the sight of God, we need to make the commitment. We need to make the effort to love one another as Jesus Christ has loved us. Because we know as Christ lived and proclaimed the gospel, we know that He embraced it each and every day. And it was the cross that was His victory. It was the cross that is our example to carry, to know His love, to be His love, and to share that each and every day. And so the Lord calls us this morning to look at our lives and to say, how can we grow rich in the sight of God? What are our priorities? How do we do it? And what can we do? Too often in our world, we see so many things going on. Simple example, athletes. Think about all the time and energy and commitment they give as they work day after day, as they train, prepare, so that they might be the best that they can be in their skill as an athlete. Or maybe think about the owner of a new restaurant, all the time, the energy that they put into making it a success, that it's popular and filled and all the rest. Do we put that much time into our prayer lives? Do we put that much time in growing in relationship to God and each other? That's how we're called to grow rich in the sight of our God. Because prayer is the key. Because it's when we place ourselves in the hands of our loving God that then indeed we are blessed. Think about Jesus, how often He entered into prayer privately. How often He went to His Father with His problems, with His pains, with His needs, and also to give Him thanks and praise. Do you and I go to the Father with our prayers, our needs, our problems, our joys, and give praise and thanks? We need to take time in our lives and to give of ourselves as Christ has done for us. Prayer is the key to grow rich in the kingdom. The sacraments are the key to grow rich in the kingdom. And that can only be accomplished if we do it freely, completely and totally. That we need to indeed accept the challenge of the gospel today. And if we are to grow rich in the sight of God, we do it through the works of prayer, the works of peace and justice as we strive in our society. We do it through working for unity and love among Christian churches. We do it by deepening our Christian faith through study, through prayer, and through worship. We do it through deepening our commitment to our parish church, with the time, the energy, the commitment that we give, and that it's not just a once-a-week liturgical experience, but it's more. We do it by using our gifts, our talents, for building up this parish community. We do it by giving personal witness, to care for the poor, to reach out to the needy, to spend time with the dying. All of that enriches our lives and strengthens us so that we are blessed and enriched with the grace of God. So often, we don't prioritize. So often, we forget. We get lost in the time, the hecticness of our lives. And that's where the vanities of vanities occurs. And it's in that time that we need to step forward and to recognize the call to live the gifts that God has given to us. To live the love, the peace, the justice, to understand, to care, to nurture. And it's in doing all of that that we grow in the sight of God every day. May the grace of God help us. May we grow rich in his sight today and every day by serving him and our brothers and sisters around us, because it is then that God blesses us, enriches us, and we are truly blessed.